The people of Nar collectively held their breath as the great armored dropship slowly lowered itself onto its place on the beach, scattering sand and kicking up froth. The crash of the hatchway coming down felt leaden. And then came the bodies. First Rhea, and then Neela, wrapped in cloth.
Lady Miria, what have you done? Why did you go without the Order of the Star's blessing? What has happened here?
Miria couldn't help thinking the weather was too beautiful for this conversation, as she looked at the man with his quivering jaw. Had Neela been one of his relations? She hadn't bothered to learn. Something in her gut twisted as she summoned the strength and poise to speak.
People of Nar, I am sorry. I could not wait for your ceremonies and your stars. I was dying, and you all know it. The radiation has left me with burns and scars I will bear for the rest of my life. Haste was necessary, but I'm afraid in my haste I made terrible mistakes, and it has cost the lives of 3 wonderful young people of this island, people I had come to love as friends. All I can do now is beg for your forgiveness and tell you that it was not all for nothing. I have woken the All-Knowing, and now he lives inside me. Now I have access to his knowledge. I promise to make Nar safe again, to give you all a better life, or to die trying. But first I would like to bury my friends with honor, to make sure their families are taken care of, and to clear my mind.
Miria straightened herself up and met their gaze. Her eyes burst into turquoise flame. For there is much to do yet to save Nar. Welcome to Swords Against Madness, an experimental fusion of solo fantasy RPG and storytelling. I'm playing Swords and Wizardry, a modern remake of the original 1974 rules for Dungeons & Dragons, along with a handful of tools for solo role-playing and occasionally bits of other classic role-playing games. I will play the game and then turn it into a psychedelic, gonzo sword and sorcery story for your enjoyment. And along the way, I'll try to keep it PG, or what passed for PG when I was a kid in the 80s. If you didn't see it in Goonies, Gremlins, or Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, you won't hear it here. So get comfortable in your studded leather kirtle or your chainmail bikini. Reload your 3-bladed sword, and fire up the wizard van. It's time to get weird. The crowds were gone now. They'd walked elsewhere to carry on their lamentations, taking Rhea and Neela with them. Edryk had been dragged off to report to the elders about what he had seen and heard. Miria was free to lean against the Olan and watch the waves rise and fall in deep contemplation. Again, meditation wouldn't come. Her mind was too full of chaos and noise. This was not a time to reflect. It was a time to plan. She reached out with her inner voice and addressed the being living inside her brain.
All right. How do we get you home?
There is a suitable conveyance near the northern tip of the island.
Great. Do you have directions you can give me?
I require the arms.
A creeping, tingling reptile brain sensation washed over Miria. Somewhere, a part of her recoiled in horror as her arms came to life of their own accord. Her hand waved over her gauntlet, summoning up an aerial map that she had taken of the island. There was the horrifying sensation of her brain being used to calculate for a moment, before A finger touched a point on the island and summoned up a waypoint.
Ugh, stop! Those are not the arms. Those are my arms, and I will thank you not to do that again.
We correspond. I am you. You are me. The coordinates. The nervous system. The arms. The standpoint. Individuals are illusions. My and your, a false dichotomy.
Can we skip the philosophy class? Okay, we are effectively one symbiotic whole right now. Fine. But I had these arms long before I invited you to correspond, and I'm going to rely on them long after you've gone home. So I would appreciate it if you respected my boundaries, false as they may be.
These categories have meaning to you.
We need to have clear boundaries between individuals, ourselves and other groups. We can't navigate the world without them. You and me are fundamental to how we work. So as you can imagine, being reminded that the boundaries are being blurred is making my teeth itch.
Perhaps they are a priori to your consciousness. This is fascinating.
I'm so glad you're learning something valuable.
Miria took inventory. There was so much power, so much knowledge. She could remember things she had never experienced if she just took a moment to plumb her mind. But always there was a sense of thinking she wasn't doing. Little twitches, her eyes suddenly tracking things she had no interest in. Tempting as it was, she just couldn't bear the thought of holding on to this entity for very long. No, she needed to get him out first and foremost. As soon as she could figure out what he was good for to help the people. And then back to the courts of chaos or wherever he belonged. But still. Miria took a deep breath and leaned back against the Olon, conjuring up her record of warp spells, and letting the knowledge that she lacked flow through her. Yes, there was a touch of inspiration there. A spell began forming in her mind. That last adventure was one hell of a ride, and it came with a pretty hearty amount of treasure with it. Between herself and Edryk, they carried out 3,000 gold pieces, 7 +1 magical sling stones, a pair of gauntlets of swimming and climbing, 3,088 bars of pressed indium, 1,712 credit notes for galactic standard credits, as well as a jeweled Urim of the Order of the Stars, a transcom array, which is a powerful piece of starship technology, a very large and high-quality amethyst, a jade necklace, and a jade set of earrings created by the jungle halflings, and a transprojector, a kind of holographic device used for relaxation. All told, they hauled out of there between that and getting half experience for the All-Knowing by striking a bargain with him. Miria and Edryk had nearly 12,000 experience points to split between them. For Miria, this put her all the way up to Magic User level 3, and gives her enough experience that gaining level 4 is just a jump away. This adventure had Edryk drinking from the fire hose. While his total share of the experience was 5,588, he caps out at 3,750 experience for this run. This is a big level for Miria. I've kept her alive a long time with just 1 hit point. Now I get to roll 2d4 and determine how many more hit points she gets. Well, that's a pair of 2s. Miria now has a whopping 5 hit points. She still isn't going to survive being hit more than once in combat, but at least a stiff breeze isn't likely to kill her. I get a 3 for Edryk. He manages to match her with 5 hit points of his own. Not bad. I'm going to pour in the method for learning new spells when you gain a level from Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. When you gain a level as a magic user, you pick a spell you want to learn. and you roll a percentile chance to learn it based on your intelligence score. If you fail, you have to pick another and try that one. You have to note down each spell that you fail, because that's a spell your character can't learn until they gain at least a level. For Miria, I wanted to go straight for web. She seems to specialize in making enemies not able to fight, and she learns it quite easily. At low levels, sleep is the best emergency response spell, so I'm going to try and teach it to Edryk. Success. Edryk is able to cast sleep now. Who'd have thought the 2 magic users would be the sole survivors of the dungeon run? With second level spells available, I'm excited to see where Miria goes next. I was tempted, so long as she was possessed by the All-Knowing, to let her level up as if she were in the game Bluehole, where I could keep rolling to learn new spells until she had the minimum number of spells for second level memorized. As it is, they're going to take some precautions. Miria is going to buy a physical spellbook with some of her gold, and copy everything down out of her gauntlet. That way she has a backup emergency spellbook if things go wrong. Edryk is going to make a second spellbook and store it on the Olan. And I will have Miria attempt to teach Edryk a couple of spells, rounding out his spellbook and giving him a few tricks that he wouldn't have otherwise had. At this point, I'm going to give my 2 magic users a few days of downtime, to rest, recover, learn new spells, but also to try to recruit new player characters. So far, things have not gone well. Of the 6 people who've gone on these adventures, 4 of them are dead. I'm worried that the locals are going to start considering Miria cursed or dangerous. Then again, so far she's been the only one who's been able to kill Gorham, and she's killed a dozen of them. And she did bring back the All-Knowing. That's something. So I decided that I would reset the chaos factor to 5 between adventures. Then I made it very unlikely, but not impossible, that Miria would not be able to find anyone who was willing to go on her quests for just a share of treasure. After all, she's brought home a pile of corpses. And an abysmal roll of 13 told me that, no, nobody wants to go with Miria trekking across the northern jungle for some mysterious object she thinks can help the All-Knowing help them. Not without a little enticement, in any case.
Hi, I'm John from Tale of the Manticore.
Maddie Searle from A Game of One's Own.
PJ from A Wasteland Story and the Solo Role Players podcast.
Simon from Legend of the Bones.
Brian Rideout from Swords Against Madness.
Carl from The Lone Adventurer.
And I'm Sharik from Roll By Myself.
And with our solo role-playing audio,
Narrative,
Actual play,
drama powers combined,
we are the Solo Role Players Podcast Network.
Usually accustomed to delving the depths,
Scouring the desert,
surviving the wasteland,
or facing the dragon alone.
This time, we have teamed up to bring you a curated collection
of the best,
highest quality,
most dramatic,
and diciest
solo roleplay podcasts in the world.
There are dozens of us.
So if you're looking for your next solo role-playing adventure,
roll over to soloroleplayersnetwork.com.
Sample and subscribe to something that takes your fancy.
And discover your new favorite solo role-playing podcast.
See you there.
I'm sorry, Miria. I don't know what else we can do to entice them.
You're right, of course. At least they didn't laugh in my face.
That would be against our customs, of course. But I could see a few of them constraining themselves. They watched as the last of the company of Tylers walked away, shaking their heads and talking quietly among themselves.
I've gone from magical savior from the stars to a lost cause very quickly.
I wish I could give you some reassurance.
You don't need to, Edryk. They're right. Of course they're right. I made so many stupid choices that got Neela and Rhea and Olan killed. I wouldn't want to follow me right now either.
Look, I'm not complaining about not flying in that terrifying contraption. But why is it we have to stick to the ground?
Something's wrong up there. When we flew back a few days ago, no blasts came from the sky. I'm not picking up any serious communications, and then there was that suspicious meteor shower. It looked like damaged starship falling to me. There's a lot of reasons why there could have been a battle in space, and a good number of them mean that the moment we lift off, we're dead. We need to make this journey by ground, and the two of us will not get through the jungle in one piece together. We need people. I just wish I understood what I could give them.
I have read their minds. They believe you are too reckless with their lives. That you do not care about the impact of the loss of your companions on their continuum. They do not see you as one of their continuum.
I don't even know where to start on mind reading, so I'm just going to let that ship just sail on by. How can we reassure them that they matter?
We must build trust.
What? Oh, she's gone all funny again. Void, take me. How am I going to do that? I told them the horrible truth. I killed their enemies. What more do they want?
Telling the truth is easy. I am incapable of lies. It does not mean I want what they want. Their enemies were trying to kill you.
That's fair. I guess I need to prove I have their interests in mind.
Yes.
I deal with scumbags like Trossi all the time. The surest way to get them to trust you is to give them a winning deal. Something they want or need at a cost that shows you're willing to go out on a limb. Make it more than just a transaction.
Yes.
So, oh reader of minds, what do they need right now?
Safety.
I can't really give that to them, can I?
No.
But what I can give them is a sense of empowerment. Perhaps if we arm them against the Gorham better. But warp-infused weapons don't exactly grow on trees. And I only have so many plasma cannons to go around.
Infusion is possible.
Infusion? Infusion? Can you read my mind and tell me if I'm thinking what you're thinking?
Yes.
Edryk!
What? I got so used to you being in that trance of yours.
Edryk, rally the elders. I have an offer for them.
Miria stood again on the stage in the village circle. The damage from the Gorham raid was still apparent. There was still a muddy patch in the middle where she had spilled over the oil. The difference was in the people. The Tylers watched her with skepticism rather than awe, and the people with discontent rather than curiosity.
I speak as both Miria O'Connell and the entity you call the All-Knowing. Hear me.
I know I have asked many of your best young people to join me in dangerous adventures, and it has cost you dearly. I am sorry. Rhea, Olan, Neela, these people were my friends, and I was careless.
We have informed you of truths that have left you uncertain. We are not the help you hoped for.
But I owe you all my life, and I promise you, I will see you safe from the Gorham and the Trossi who brought them here. I will find Mormont. I will discover who is behind the Gorham attacks that have cost you so much. But first, I need to honor a contract.
A conveyance suitable to take this entity where it can survive is on this island. We require volunteers to take us through the jungle.
You have already asked much of us, Miria.
I know.
I know. I have cost you the lives of 4 people already. I promise you that the sacrifice is not in vain. I want to honor them as best I can, and that is why we have an offer.
We will infuse a number of weapons equal to the number of people who assist us in our expedition. We can have them ready by the end of the day.
A murmur rippled through the crowd. Weapons that could kill the Gorham? Could she really deliver on all that? She could feel the temperature of the crowd warming.
On an even playing field, I know that you can win. And when I'm done helping the All-Knowing, I will lead an expedition to a secret base here on the island to claim weapons the Traci left behind, to kill the Gorham, and to steal the information on where all other Gorham are being kept on this island.
There was no thunderous applause, no religious raptures, but there was a sense of assent.
So be it. That anyone who is willing offer their spear freely to Miria so that it can be blessed.
Axes, swords, maces, glaives. Weapons of steel and bronze that are good at striking the head are preferable.
An hour later, Miria slowly unrolled a bundle of weapons, not as many as she had hoped. She had purchased a few more from the local bronzesmith. If the All-Knowing really could deliver on his ability to enchant weapons in only a few hours, she figured she should create as many as possible.
Well, we have our volunteers. Will you be able to infuse enough weapons?
I will need to borrow your arms.
Thank you.
Swords Against Madness was written, directed, played, and GM'd by Brian C. Rideout. Editing and production was done by Stormhead Productions, which is also Brian Rideout. This episode features the voice talents of John Cohen from Tale of the Manticore as the All-Knowing. I have generated the music in this series using the Suno AI. The sound effects in this episode come courtesy of Pixabay. For show notes and more information, visit swordsvmadness.stormheadproductions.ca. You can reach me on X at swordsvmadness, and you can email me at swordsvmadness@stormheadproductions.ca. And until next time, roll high, play hard, and think weird.